All right, thanks, Brian. Obviously, a gritty group I've got, which it's not the first time I've said that. As I told them, I said good teams find a way when things aren't going your way offensively. I thought defensively, maybe one of our better efforts of the year because it had to be. And when you get in these type of games, it's not the first time we've been in them, that you have to find other ways defensively on the glass, taking care of the ball, and just being able to find enough offense and have other guys step up and help us. Steve was really big in the second half. Tyler, Chucky made some plays. So it was a good team win, and we had to rely on guys that normally don't get all the spotlight.
Steve?
You mentioned guys that aren't normally in the spotlight. The fact you were, even though it wasn't necessarily the prettiest win, the fact you were able to win a game when you weren't getting a whole lot of scoring from Johnny or Brad, what can it do for the team, maybe looking ahead to March or something like that, where you have a game where maybe one of those two guys isn't?
Yeah, I mean, as I told them, good teams find a way. And when we've had really good teams here, it hasn't always been as you would draw it up, so to speak. You're going to go through stretches at times. Sometimes it's a specific game, sometimes it's a stretch in a season, but you have to continue to fall back on the things that your foundation is built upon. And defensively, what we did rebounding, keeping them off the glass. I think they only had one offensive rebound in the second half, and then obviously being able to take care of the ball and get just enough done to your defense won us the game tonight, not our offense.
Abby?
Greg, it felt like in the first half especially, Chucky Hepburn really had a nice, even pace, was very controlling of the ball. And not that we haven't seen them from this season, but how important was it today, especially with Brad and Johnny not being as there?
Yeah, I mean, he can get into the paint, and that's what we needed him to do with the way they were playing everybody and squeezing things. We had to get the ball sides turned, get the defense moving a little bit, and then he was able to make some plays in the paint. Getting the 2 fouls has, reduced his minutes, so he's got to, do a better job. The second one was, that happens. The first one, he's got to do a better job of staying on his feet and not leaving the floor.
Jeff?
Greg, can you walk us through what you told your guys during that last time out when Penn State was going to look for that shot? What were you expecting? What did you want the guys to look for?
Yeah, I mean, they had gone back to the bigger lineup with Harar and Lee on the floor, so we went back with Steve, and we didn't have any more fouls. We had used the fouls that we had to try to eat clock and get it as deep as possible, and then knowing that we didn't want to give up a 3, or at least an easy one. I thought before the first or the last foul, we almost screwed up the switch. We stayed too long with the ball and didn't get back to, and Brad was able to foul, I think at that time. So we switch everything with the ball, but you can't be passive or lax with that. You got to be very aggressive with it. And I think for the most part we did a decent job of that. And that was when they were able to make their run, is when they had Lee at the 5 and really spread us out, and he got loose on us a few times with Chris in the game.
Jim?
Greg, you've probably seen over the years where if a guy's shot is not falling or struggling offensively, other areas of his game are affected. Johnny just seems to keep doing the other things well. Do you appreciate that he's not let one thing affect other parts?
Yeah, I think, with him, I think there's so many things that I see that he can get better with, and I've said that all year, that yeah, he's a very good player, and you guys have written about him a lot, as has everybody, but I see things that he can continue to get better at, and defensively, the awareness, the attentiveness for all possessions, those things. But I think as I told him and Brad in front of everybody in the locker room, hey, you guys have carried us for a lot of nights, and tonight it was everybody else's turn to try to carry you and help the team. So thank your teammates for helping us when we needed it. And again, as I said at the opening, it's a mark of a pretty good team when your guys that you've relied on struggled. And part of it's what Penn State was doing defensively. Part of it's just missing some shots that over the course of a season we have made. He's made a few of those.
Abby?
Greg, another timeout you guys had was around the 7-minute mark after Penn State had taken the lead, and then you guys responded with a 13-0 run. What was said during that timeout to kind of go and spur that run?
Defensively, we had to get back. I think that was the time when the couple threes were hit by Lee. So we needed to collect ourselves defensively. We set 3 possessions. Coming out of that timeout, the next 3 possessions, what was called, and I think we scored on all 3. So, just getting good shots, trying to get 2 or 3 guys with the ball in their hands. Brad, Johnny, and then Steve ended up hitting 1 or 2 from 3. So it was more about defensively. We had to, take away their confidence. So they were feeling pretty good about where they were, and rightfully so. But we had to buckle back down and have good offensive possessions on our end, and then turn it up a little bit defensively.
Jim?
Greg, just to follow up on Johnny, you mentioned that a lot of those shots were falling earlier. Maybe this is just a law of averages type thing, but do you think he's pressing at all? Do our teams play him any differently? Is he, like we talked last week about maybe him being tired? He's played a lot of minutes. Any of that, all the above?
I think the one thing is he's been played very physically, and that's the nature of the game. When you're, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, people didn't know who Johnny Davis was. Now he's probably, I would assume, risen to the top of the scouting reports. So film is out, as we've talked about for a while, as opponents counter and what they do. Now you add another layer to your game. What can you do better, and how can you impact the game in a positive way that doesn't involve scoring? And I think those are things that I thought tonight, him driving, turning around and finding Steve on a throwback was a step, because we've talked about finding teammates, and that's always reinforced when the shot goes in, and Steve made that 3 on one of those throwbacks. So, and I think it's part of where he's at in terms of the attention and the coverage that he's gotten. People now are gonna, send the whole team bus after him. So it's not gonna be easy, because he's earned it though. I mean, he's played really well, and if I was playing against him, I'd probably, send the whole team bus too.
Jeff? You mentioned that you called 3 calls on those first 3. I don't know if I've ever heard you say that before. Is that rare? Do you do that frequently, or?
Yeah, because I can't remember any more than 3, so I stop at 3. No, we typically call them at the most 3 possessions. I'm not quite to the football where we script the first 15. I haven't quite gotten that far yet, but I typically script the first 3 to start the game, and then from there kind of adjust based on what we've seen through scouting, what's working, what's not working, who we need to get more shots, etc. So, but yeah, typically we set some things coming out.
Abby?
Greg, you've mentioned Steven kind of a couple times now, but I was wondering if you could just elaborate on what he was able to give you guys today, especially in the second half, hitting those 3s.
Yeah, I think that's big. When a big can knock down shots from the perimeter, it opens everything else up, and with how they were really condensing the paint and making it hard for us to get there, doubling the post once in a while, really crowding the paint, so there was a lot of traffic in there. You have to be able to knock some shots down, and if you can do it with a bigger than average guy like that, that's that forces their big out. It forces some adjustments, and then it allows the floor to be more opened up for everybody else.
Abby? Yeah.
And then, so you guys are about 2/3 of the way through Big Ten play now, maybe a little less, 2/3 of the way through the season at least. These past 2 games you've struggled offensively. What can reasonably be done at this point in the game to kind of fix that offense? And then if you had to put a cause on it, what would you say has been causing you guys so much trouble?
As I mentioned before, the film gets out, teams adjust, so you have to counter with that. I think this league is very well scouted, very well coached. You obviously got very good players, and it's the course of a season. You're going to have some, highs and going to have some lows. You try not to make the lows last very long, but the grind of a season is it's February, so, gotta continue to fight through it, gotta continue to find a way. Everybody is, had the same number of practices and games, et cetera, so we're not dealing with anything that anybody else isn't dealing with. It's just how do you respond to it when things don't go well or as you planned. You're not always gonna shoot 60% or score 35 points or whatever. How do you handle it when it doesn't go quite how you planned? And as I told the team, guess what? That's life. Every day isn't gonna be what you want, and or as easy as maybe it was last year or the year before. If they're in sales, you had a good year of sales or a good month, good quarter. The next one stinks. Well, all right, let's make our adjustments and get better and figure out a way to what we did well, what we didn't do well, and that's why I think this, sports in general is specifically team sports are a great preparation for what's to come as they move on to the real world.
Okay, Abby, one more?
Just to follow up, you said it's all about how you respond. Do you feel like your team is handling it well, responding to it well?
If they didn't respond to it well, I wouldn't be as happy sitting up here because we wouldn't have had success tonight. As I told them, I said, good teams find a way, and you just, they responded by what they did defensively and taking care of the glass, and just you fight your way through it, and we'll continue. Tomorrow's a new day, so we learn from that and move on and start to prepare for Michigan State.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.